how are you doing today? I'm here with my series discussion for the Modern Fairy Tale series by Holly Black, and this is right, so buckle in. Let's just get started on the synopsis for this series. So in this series we follow Kai K, I still don't know how to pronounce her name, and as a kid she used to have these imaginary friends that she thought were real, but like obviously no one around her saw them or believed them. So as she grew older and she didn't see them anymore, she realized, oh, they're imaginary friends. And she basically spent a lot of her life on the road together with her mom, and then at the beginning of this book something happens which makes her move in with her grandmother again, and there she starts seeing those friends again. And to make it even more surreal, she ends up rescuing a man in the woods one night, and then she learns that he is a fairy and her imaginary friends also Fae. And then she gets caught up in the middle of like this big battle between the courts. That's all I've got for you, because that's how vague the synopsis also is. So yeah, let's do a quick ranking of the series, because we always love a quick ranking in this on this channel. My least favorite from the series was Tithe, which is book 1. Then on number 2 I have Ironside, and my favorite is Valiant, which is an unpopular opinion, I know, but I'm still gonna have it. This will be entirely spoiler free, so you can keep watching, don't worry, as we go into individual reviews of these books, so you can understand my ranking. So Tithe, which is book 1, I give 5 stars to. I immediately really loved the writing and the world. I thought the writing had like this really fun, fantastical feel to it, and like a little bit like old school fairy tale-y, and I really loved that. And I thought the world was so interesting. On top of that, I also thought this read very quickly, like absolutely flew through this book. But on the flip side, I thought this book was really boring. Not a whole lot happened in it until the very ending, where just so much was happening and it was really hard to follow. And especially what made it harder to follow is that at times I felt like there were scenes missing and I just didn't understand how to go from point A to point B. But because I loved the world and the writing so much, I still opted to read book 2, especially because this one follows a different cast of characters. Valiant, I gave 2 to 5 stars to. I thought it was a very interesting story. In this one, we kind of spent more time with like the outcast phase, so they are in the human world and are very integrated into our society, and I really liked how that was done. I thought it was really interesting, especially because most Fae books I've personally read take place in the courts, either with like high Fae or like regular Fae, but like still in the courts. So I thought it was very interesting to follow the outcast Fae instead. I really liked the storyline throughout this book. I thought that was really interesting, and the only thing that I didn't really like were the characters. They felt very one-dimensional. I didn't dislike the characters, but like, I feel like the characters were very one-dimensional and just like underdeveloped, and it made me feel like I barely knew anything about them, and like I couldn't be as invested into the book as I would want to be. And then lastly, the third book, Ironside, I gave 2 to 5 stars to. This one is a bit difficult to talk about for me, because I say that there's this could have been a DNF, or this could have been like a new favorite. Really could have gone both ways. It ended up as a 2 star, because let's start with what I really liked about this one. What I really liked in this one were the different side storylines going on with the side characters that we still got like little bits of perspectives from, but I really loved those characters and I really thought the storylines were very interesting. It's just that when we got to Kay or Kai, whatever you want to pronounce it, I really did not like her. I thought she was very obnoxious, very stupid, and very hypocritical, and it's just not a character I like reading about anymore, especially when the side characters and the side storylines are so interesting and we're constantly getting that pushed to the background for something so uninteresting as Sky's storyline in this book, because she just constantly makes dumb decision after dumb decision. I'm like, this shouldn't have happened. If you just would have thought a little bit, or like thought about someone else than yourself, then none of this would have happened. And I just feel like if this book like put like a different character to the forefront and had Kai's storyline in the background, because obviously the series is not afraid to switch up its main character. We had an entire book in which Kai did not appear, so I thought that would have made this more interesting, but that's not what we got. So instead I'm bitter. So let's go into my overall thoughts. I thought this was a really interesting world. Like I said before, it's probably my favorite aspect of this book. I thought of this series, the world was so interesting, and I really liked how we got to see like the different courts, as well as the outside, like the outcast Fae. I thought that all of that was really interesting. The books are very quick and easy reads, like you absolutely fly through them, even if you're hating your time reading it. at least you're reading it quickly, so you don't have to hit it for a very long time. And I always love quick and easy reads. It can be fun, especially the last 2 books I read in December when I was like really busy and I didn't have a lot of time to read. So being able to read a book very quickly like made me feel very accomplished. I also really like the writing, like I said before. It feels very fantastical and old school fairy tale-y, and I really enjoyed that, and I'm definitely intrigued to read much more by Holly Black. I just thought that the entire series felt very surface level and I wasn't super interested in anything that was happening. Even in the 3rd book, where I felt a little bit more attached to the characters than before, because at this point we've spent so much time with them, I still felt like if you currently like give me a character name and like ask me like a list of character traits, I could probably name 1 or 2 things, not a lot, because I felt like we just stayed on the surface level with them and like didn't really delve into things. And it is the same thing with sometimes other stuff in the storyline where I just feel like we could have delved in a lot more, where it was so interesting and we didn't, sadly enough. The series also at times could feel a little bit like edgelordy, and that way I mean that Holly Black obviously tried to include like these darker, more difficult themes that I definitely think were interesting, but because everything felt so surface level, we never really got like in depth in all about those things, and therefore it just felt like they were included for the sake of being like dark and edgy and cool, and you know, and that therefore it just like felt edgelordy and like cringy to me, instead of like actually like dark and serious as Holly Black obviously was trying to do. That was everything I have for you today. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this series. Definitely feel free to go into spoilery detail, because I love discussing spoilers. I just don't like making videos with spoilers, so it's more accessible to more people. So if you want to discuss spoilers, start your comment off with a little spoiler warning, so people who are watching this video who haven't read the series yet know not to read your comments. That's a long disclaimer. I'll always forget the order of words, but yeah, hopefully I'll see you around next time. Bye.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated?